Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird joining you live here from Indian Shores, Florida. It's a little too windy outside to be outside today, so I'm literally inside my front door here. So got the front door open, got a screen door, got the windows open on the side, so it's close enough. So thank you for joining us today. It's a pretty crazy week. I'm getting ready to go on about a 40-hour drive. So getting all the details ironed out with that. Miss Lauren is joining us today. And just in case you didn't know, Miss Lauren is a nurse practitioner in the Stillman Wellness medical side of things. And where are you licensed, young lady?
Good morning, Jim. I'm licensed in New York and Florida and soon to be Virginia.
Okay. So if you are listening to this and if you're in one of those states, we are able to work with you. We have different annual plans that you'd be able to work directly with Miss Lauren that we can put you in right away if you're in those states.
Yeah.
So the best way to learn more about that is basically join our email list, Stillman Wellness. You can go to stillmanwellness.com and get on the email list, and you'll see an opportunity to book a call to learn about our medical program at the bottom of the email. Or you can go to Stillman MD and fill out the patient application. And you can do either one of those things, and you'll be able to find out more information about what we offer on that side. So Miss Lauren is very good. I chat with her all the time on the, we do little calls where we go over cases on a regular basis. So it's really fun to listen and to learn people's thought processes. So how are you today, young lady?
I'm doing well. How are you? How's Florida?
I'm well. I've just got a lot of moving parts right now. Getting ready for like a 40-50 hour drive. So yeah, about 4,000 miles. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 border crossings.
Oh my gosh.
One being the craziest, and going through and all the details about, this country allows this, you have to pay the tolls and pesos in this country. You have to pay the tolls and dollars in this other country. If you don't have exact change, they won't let you through. So just I've got folders, and organization is really not one of my specialties. So
it's going to be quite the quest. You have to take us along. Maybe
I'm going to. And then of course, I've got these lives, and so I'm probably going to film a few of them. I've got some guests lined up actually that are pretty impressive. I've got actually Chris Summers of Gymnastics Bodies.
Wow.
Former U.S. Olympic coach for the gymnastics team is coming on next a week from today, actually. And I've known Christopher Summers for a long time. He's been on Tim Ferriss. He's we're going to talk about the lost art of physical preparedness. So that's going to be a great interview. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I've got some other people lined up to do some interviews about some different topics. So a lot of those, and the cool thing is I can record these, like the one lady that I'm doing a show with, she is in California,
Right.
So I'm not going to ask her to get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, or we can video it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then upload it as a live. So that's kind of cool.
Right.
So if you're watching, give us a like. Obviously the algorithm doesn't like me or us very much for making you think. So the topic of today's discussion, of course, is, we're going to have all the haters come out for this, because anytime we talk about plant-based, animal-based, it's just the same. And I will say the plant-based people are a little more hateful than the animal-based people. So, yeah. The unveiling truth: does a plant-based diet really improve digestion? And I'll start this off by saying, whether it's animal-based, plant-based, most of the times when people see these great improvements, it's usually from what I've observed, it's usually from what they've eliminated, right? They've eliminated a lot of processed foods. They simplified things. But maybe that makes you feel better for a little while. And a lot of the things with the plant-based diet, they go in almost like fasting too. And fasting has its place. But you go into this almost kind of euphoric feeling, until you start running out of resources, right? But I've seen the opposite to be true. I've seen people that were, had things like irritable bowel, that were eating the vegetables were actually causing a lot of their problems, right? Somebody with like irritable bowel syndrome, something like that, they're eating these all like tons of salads and stuff, and it's just going right through them, and they cut back on the vegetables a little bit and they get better. So what is your take on this? What have you observed? I know Dr. Stillman from time to time will recommend, if you want somebody who needs to get a little more nutrients in their diet, he'll recommend them upping, vegetables for a certain period of time. What have you observed?
You know, I don't like to take a stance on like one side, Jim, like one is better, one is, worse. But when we look at the gut, we have to see, how strong the gut is. And if there's an issue there, then clearly there's some inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like to give blanket recommendations to say like remove all plants, or what, like you mentioned, people that eat plant-based, sometimes they have, when they remove that, they feel better, right? But I have the thought process that we should be able to eat a wide variety of foods and
We are
tolerate
omnivores. That is
and,
correct.
and tolerate them well and feel well. So, if there are gastric symptoms that come up, in functional medicine, we take an approach that is like 5 pillars, right? We remove, so maybe we say, let's remove these foods for a period of time. Maybe we remove certain habits that you're doing too, like
Mm-hmm.
not taking deep breaths, running around like crazy. So we remove
Mm-hmm.
habits, we remove foods, and then we look to replace. So we replace with healing foods. Maybe we tell a patient to, not do so much raw. Maybe the raw foods are aggravating you because there's inflammation, and that takes a lot of digestion to the raw foods require a lot. So we do more broths, right? So we replace, and then you reinoculate. So you reinoculate with a good probiotic, maybe some kefir, maybe some different yogurt, some raw dairy products. But it's patient specific. Some patients don't tolerate dairy very well.
Mm-hmm.
So each approach is individualized, and then we repair the gut. So then we look to say, maybe we need to give this patient some glutamine. Maybe they need to take in some aloe. And this is not like a quick fix. This is something that takes, a few months. And then we rebalance the gut. And we do that with maybe new habits, maybe a different way of eating. Maybe if they were eating a ton of plants, it didn't work for them right now. So they need to eat more, cooked foods, maybe some more animal-based foods to nourish the gut, to get some really nutrient-dense nutrition, and come up with better habits. But
Well, just getting people to slow down and actually chew their food is huge, right?
absolutely,
And, stress, people don't understand. If you're in a stress state, if you're in an overbreathing state where you can't slow down and you're constantly rolling, you're not going to produce the stomach acid you need. You're not going to, when your body thinks it's in an emergency, digestion, reproduction is not high on the list.
right,
So learning how to slow down, be present. I mean, how many people, myself included, sit down and eat and just, hammer it down? They don't sit and be present and get in the moment. And, you mentioned things are very individual specific. Yes. And that's the frustrating thing about all sides of this, right? Well, I did carnivore and it solved all my problems. That means everybody has to do it.
right,
Well, carnivore is going to bury some people, right?
yeah,
And the other extreme as well. I went all raw vegan and it saved my life, for now. And but not everybody can do that. Right. And it's not going to work best for everyone. And, maybe your digestive issues is because you aren't getting enough sunshine. You're not getting outside enough. So it's
absolutely,
multifactorial and it's lifestyle oriented. And I always, when I talk to people about, things like, we don't have 7 stomachs like a cow does, right? To basically regurgitate all this stuff. We have the stomach of an omnivore, which is you can eat a variety of things. But, we're not designed to eat massive quantities of plants. We're designed to eat some plants, But I mean, and it's the same thing. Like we're not designed to just eat meat and fat either. Now you can
Right.
survive a lot longer on meat and fat than I think you can on just vegetables, unless you're living on the equator. But your point of it has to be tailored to the person is right on the money, and the lifestyle things, just people just don't think about what are the consequences of me sitting down with my hair on fire, scrolling through my phone and trying to, like, you know, do my work while I'm eating. That done over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. What are the side effects of doing that over a 6 to 8 month period? Right.
Right. I think the most common trigger that sort of brings out gastric symptoms is the chronic stress response.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I really learned about heart rate variability was from a doctor who I love. She's actually based in Florida, Dr. Patty. And she taught me a lot about the coherent heart breathing technique. And what that does is it calms down your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And a great deal of our nervous system lives in our gut. So when that hyperactivity is just chronic and, we're always go, 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 that creates inflammation in the gut lining. And that leads to loss of integrity. The gut is very sensitive. It's this mucus lining, and it's very sensitive to these high stress environments and lifestyles. And we can lose that integrity. And that's when inflammation starts, digestive dysfunction starts. You get malabsorption. And then that's where these symptoms show up. And then you might be somebody that gets sick all the time. And, you're blaming it on all these other things and not thinking that
Right.
most of our immune system also lies in the gut.
Yeah, we're not designed for the current chronic stress environment that we're in. We're designed to do, low level manual labor, a lot of it,
Right.
and then we're designed to run from a bear occasionally. And either the bear eats you or you get away. But we're not designed to be running from a bear all the time. And
Right.
the constant psychological stress of modern life, our biology is just not very adapted to that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account in your daily life, that you need to take the time to sit quietly, sit calmly, and calm things down. And you talked about HRV and not being able to digest your food, and that's very, very true. If you are in a heightened state and getting, like, slowing your breathing down, putting the tongue in the roof of your mouth, breathing through your nose, that your body is able to calm down. If you can't take a breath in and do a long exhale and slow your breathing down, you're going to get in this state where you literally can't relax no matter
Right.
what you do. And a lot of people will just, instead of slowing their roll and learning how to slow their breathing down, they'll just pour in more supplements and just keep pushing harder and harder and harder until the body says that's enough, no more. We're gonna give you whatever, jock itch, ulcerative colitis, whatever the flavor of the day is for your genetics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll always be this argument between carnivore versus plant-based, this one's better, that one's better. And I just cannot get over how every body is different. And at different times in your life, you're going to require something different, right?
That's correct.
But I do feel that across the board, our gut needs prebiotics, which we get from plants. Prebiotics
Mm-hmm.
are in fiber, resistant starch, and polyphenols. All of
Mm-hmm.
those we get from plants.
Mm-hmm.
So we need those things in moderation to create a diverse microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure I'll get a ton of carnivores yelling at me saying you don't need those things.
Well, it's very interesting. Dr. Terry Walls, who wrote the Walls Protocol. I
I
don't know
love
if you
her.
know who
Yeah,
she is, but
love her.
she was on with some carnivore people, and they were giving her a really hard time. And she was like, "Do you guys cold plunge? Do you guys work out? Do you lift weights?" Because their argument was there's all these stressors, like vegetables create stress in the system. And
Right.
she's like, "That's true, but why do you cold plunge? Why do you do sauna? Why do you do exercise? Those are all hormetic stressors, right? And at the right dose, they have a positive effect on your body." right? And these different hormetic stressors help regulate your immune system, provide your body with what it needs. And I tell people all the time, those 3 baby carrots that I eat every day are not for me. They're for my critters in the gut, right? So, and this all would have been part of this is part of the reason people argue about this stuff is because, for one of the first times in history, people's lives are like, your food shows up at your door. You go to the grocery store, there's hundreds of millions of thousands of calories you have to choose from.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been arguing about this 100 and 150 years ago. You'd have been eating what was available to you. If you had deer, you ate deer. If you could grow things, if you had fruit in the trees, you ate that. It changed with the seasons. A lot of these petty arguments are due to, trust me, the Eskimos are not arguing about what they're going to eat and what diet they're going to eat. They have to eat what's there. They're eating seal, they're eating fish, they're eating caribou, they're making pemmican in the summertime where they crush berries up into powder and they mix it into their pemmican to get them through the winter. They're not arguing about, what diet they're going to eat, or, the Maasai, or, these hunter-gatherer tribes. The seasons and nature would take care of the variability of the food. We just have, you can eat a pineapple in New York in December. Now, I wouldn't recommend that. It's a circadian mismatch, but that's part of the reason why people are arguing over the most absurd things, is because they don't have to go out and get their own food. They don't have to raise their own food. They don't have to do manual labor. Your house is built for you. All these things are taken care of for you. So you've got nothing to do other than argue about things like this that nature would have decided for you in the past by your environment. And that's probably one of the biggest things most people overlook, is they're like, is the Mediterranean diet the best, or is this diet the best? And I'm like, where do you live?
Right.
Like, you don't live in Sicily, right? You don't live in Japan. You don't have access to the same foods they do. So what environment do you live in, and what foods do you need for the time that you're in currently in your life? Maybe you're trying to put on a bunch of muscle mass. That's really hard to do if you're eating an ultra low carb diet.
Right.
Maybe you need a little reset. So you're going to lower your carbs for a little bit. I know I did the GAPS protocol. It really helped me get through my colitis until I was in a better place. So this stuff changes constantly, changes daily, but people tend to overcomplicate things and get in these philosophical arguments that really don't have much benefit.
Absolutely. I give these people credit who can stand on one side and stay there. I don't know. I just have never been so pro one side and pro another. You have to have diversity.
Yeah. I mean, we're flexible for a reason. We can survive on, there's a difference between surviving and thriving too. I mean, I can eat beans and rice, and probably live and be relatively healthy, but what's the point if I can eat foods where I can thrive and do even better and have higher levels of performance? I'm going to do that, right?
Right.
So do you have any exciting plans for the weekend?
I am moving, so packing.
So am I.
Like.
So I am moving too.
Yeah.
So it getting everything in order. Like, I have to have so many different papers and photocopies, and I'm watching all these YouTube videos, and I'm learning new things as I dive deep into this. It's like, wow, this country that, doesn't allow this, but you're only driving through for 2 days. So what's the workaround for that? And, it's just, it's really crazy. Like, for example, Mexico, I got my windows tinted really dark.
Oh boy, Jim.
Well, there's no tint laws in Nicaragua, right? And with my dog, they have this tint that you can. It's actually the same tint the police use, but the police are allowed to have it, but I can't. Right? So I got pulled over the other day here in Florida, and the officer walked up. I opened the door and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I have to open the door because I just got my windows tinted." And he goes, "That's really funny because that's why I pulled you over." And I said, "I have a really, really good excuse." He's like, "What's that?" I said, "I'm moving to Nicaragua." And he goes, "That's actually a really good excuse."
Oh, wow.
And so he goes, "Give me your license." So I gave him my license. He came back. He said, "Have a safe trip."
Oh, God
And
bless
so,
him.
what I can do, like here in the US, is I can drive, and I was like, oh man, if my tint's illegal here, what about the other countries? So I started researching. Mexico, it's actually illegal to have any tint whatsoever. They will actually make you either pay them when they pull you over,
Yeah, you gotta
or
be
they will make you
careful.
peel all the tint off the windows before you're allowed to leave on the side of the road. So I did some research, and so the way around that is you drive with your front windows down. And they said that majority of the time that keeps them from pulling you over. Right.
Okay.
But I'm a gringo, so I'm going to get pulled over anyways. Got to pay the gringo tax. But learning that, and then Guatemala doesn't have a tint law, and Honduras doesn't have a tint law. And if you go to Nicaragua, everybody's windows are just murdered out. I mean, half the people, I don't know how they see out of the windows because it's like a mirror finish. But this tint that I got is supposed to block 95% of the heat coming in. And
Oh, wow.
when you're near the equator, that's the difference. They had a car that was in the middle of summer. They had two vehicles that were out. One had like minimal tint, and the other one had this tint that I got. And the one car, it was 120 Fahrenheit in the car, and the other car, it was like 78 degrees in the car.
Oh, you're gonna be nice and cool.
Well, yeah, and with the dog, so I've got a
Yeah.
bunch of USB fans, and I've got chili blanket that I can give him. So, because it's it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because I have to go out of the car into the office. How long that's going to take. So I'm going to have to come out and check on him. So since I'm rolling solo.
I know.
It's going to
You're a
be
good
a little.
pup dad, Jim.
Well, I try my best, but yeah. So it's going to be an interesting adventure, that's for sure. But
Well,
you
take
have
us along with
yourself.
you.
You have yourself a wonderful. I mean, I'm sure I could find somebody that wanted to go, but then that just complicates things even further. So we'll roll with the dog for now. You have yourself a great weekend, and like I said, if you want to check out working with us, working with Lauren, go to Stillman MD, put your email in the patient application, and then of course get on our email list for our weekly classes lessons. Today's is on hormones and aging. So
Yeah,
if you want to get in on that, we send those emails out Monday and Wednesdays. So have yourself a wonderful weekend.
Take care, Jim.
And you too. Take care.